I'm going to share with you one of the biggest quirks, or one of the biggest things that I ran into as a treating doctor in the spinal injury market. I'm sure you're going to be able to relate to this if you're a treating doctor today. But one of the things that I realized very quickly was, okay, I have this injured patient. They're injured in an auto accident, or injured in work, and they're in a medical legal situation. That means where attorneys could get involved, where people are trying to determine their benefits. One side is trying to say they're not injured. The other side is trying to say they are injured, and you as the doctor are there with the patient. All you want to do is do really great work with that patient. You want to get that patient better, but as a doctor, you have to navigate this other area, right? So one of the things that was so incredibly interesting to me, and it still is today, is that in the personal injury market, in the personal injury law market, so personal injury lawyers are the only legal professionals that I know of that do not study the condition that they represent. Now, what do I mean by that? And what I mean by that is that if I have a problem with the contract and somebody harms me contractually, I hire a contract attorney. And all the attorneys do is they study, they go do CLE, or they go do continuing legal education, they study, they do seminars, they do training, they're constantly looking at contracts, at clauses, they're looking at aspects of contracts, how contracts interrelate. They're studying the hell out of contracts. If I'm in a real estate dispute, the attorney studied the hell out of real estate. If I'm in an asbestos liability case, that attorney has studied the hell out of asbestos. They can tell you all about it. What is it? Where does it congregate in the body? What kind of tests would you do? What are the symptoms that are associated with it? They know everything there is to know about it. Now, think about the personal injury market. This is where it's a laugher. This is where it gets really interesting. Find a personal injury attorney that has actually studied the injuries that they represent, especially in the spine injuries that they represent. It's very, very few attorneys that know anything about the anatomy, know anything about the injury itself. And if the attorney doesn't know it, neither do the paralegals, neither do the law firm. They can't even take a simple spinal injury and know, okay, triage it. What tests should we have? MRI, excessive motion testing, CT. What do those three tests tell you? Right? And without those tests, no MRI, no disc, no excessive motion, no support ligament damage, no CT, generally no fracture. So, that's what perplexed me. What perplexed me was that personal injury attorneys don't study the condition that they represent, especially when it comes to spinal injuries. And if they did, it would be a lot easier. So of course, me as a doctor, and I'm sure you as a doctor know how frustrating this is, because you're working with the patient's representative, and what does that represent? What are they doing? They're selling to the insurer the significance of the injuries, but they don't know anything about the features of the injuries themselves. So they're like a car salesman that doesn't study the car that they're selling. They don't know the unique features of that car. They don't know what makes it unique, they don't know anything about it. And yet they're the main salespeople to benefits for a patient. Now, for me as a doctor, I never cared. I didn't care about that. That wasn't my role. That wasn't my job. But man, watching it going, these guys are seriously struggling. And when I say guys, these males and females are seriously struggling, and they really don't have to. And it's not that hard to get educated in spinal injuries. As a matter of fact, I developed a program called the Smart Injury Lawyers Program for lawyers to get educated. And what we find is that educated lawyers are significantly different in the market. And for you doctors, obviously, it's far less frustrating to be working with somebody that understands what it is you yourself are working on than the same old average attorney out there that has no idea, very little idea. The legal profession today thinks if you don't have a disc herniation and you don't have a fracture, you don't actually have a spinal injury. And nothing could be farther from the truth. As a matter of fact, the spinal disc does not even explain the majority of symptoms that a person oftentimes has when they injure their spine. So that was something that I thought was just amazing when I first got involved, and still to this day, 31 years into it, is that the legal profession does not study the condition that it represents. And it's frustrating for doctors. Doctors, you're out there, you just have to contend with that. And it does provide an educational opportunity for you to educate them. And that's all I'd have to say about that.